What if I told you the solution to our planet's exhausted farmland wasn't cooked up in some high-tech lab, but was actually waiting for us deep in the ocean? Well, today, that's exactly what we're diving into, a really unique organic fertilizer made from seaweed that promises to change the game.
But before we can get to the solution, we've got to understand the problem. And it's a big one. According to agricultural experts, a huge amount of our global farmland is becoming, well, for lack of a better word, sick.
So let's break down what that actually means. What is sick soil? We're not just talking about a bad harvest here and there. The source material we're looking at describes it as a long-term, chronic condition that's really hard to fix.
And the language that experts use is pretty stark. They describe these massive areas of farmland, especially across Africa and Southeast Asia, as literally being sick. This isn't just about poor soil quality. This is a systemic problem that's threatening our ability to grow enough food for everyone.
So how on earth does soil get this sick? Well, it's really a combination of things, a perfect storm of pressure. You've got constant land exploitation and these non-stop planting cycles that give the soil zero time to recover. Then, for decades, we've been throwing unbalanced fertilizers at it, mostly just nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, or NPK. Imagine trying to live on only 3 types of food. Add in a ton of chemical pesticides and the loss of all that good organic matter, and you end up with soil that's just completely burnt out.
It's a massive challenge, for sure. But the source material for this explainer proposes a solution from a pretty unexpected place. So let's get into it. A solution from the sea.
And that solution is a product called DI Grow. So what is it? It's a liquid organic fertilizer made from a special type of seaweed. But this isn't just seaweed in a bottle. It's a complete balanced formula. It's got the right mix of nutrients, natural growth stimulants, and something called humic acid, which you can think of as a super compost that helps condition the soil and makes it easier for plants to absorb all the good stuff.
And what's really smart is that it's not a one-size-fits-all product. There are 2 different formulas. First, you've got DI Grow Green, which they call the Grow Booster. You use this when the plant is young, in its vegetative phase, to build up strong roots, stems, and leaves. Then, when the plant's ready to start producing, you switch over to DI Grow Red, the fruit and flower enhancer, to get the best flowers and fruits possible.
So, okay, 2 formulas, 2 different stages of life. But how does the seaweed science actually work? What is it doing to the plant?
You know, the best way to get your head around it is this analogy from the source material itself. Think of it like a balanced diet for a human. Standard chemical fertilizers are just the food stuff, the basic calories. But for a plant to be truly healthy, it also needs what the manual calls bioactive compounds. These are like the vitamins and minerals that regulate growth and keep the whole system running smoothly.
In practice, it breaks down into this really cool 3-step boost. First, natural hormones from the seaweed make the plant's cell walls more open, basically unlocking the door so nutrients can get inside way more easily. Second, it kicks photosynthesis into high gear by speeding up chlorophyll production. That's like putting a turbocharger on the plant's energy factory. And third, all that extra energy gets sent down to stimulate the roots, creating a bigger, better network to pull in even more nutrients. It's this awesome, positive feedback loop.
So that's the science, which is fascinating. But what does it all mean for the farmers themselves? Let's talk about the results you can actually see out in the field.
Let's start with a number that's going to matter a lot to a farmer's wallet, 30%. That's how much you can potentially cut back on using conventional NPK fertilizers. For any farm, that is a massive, immediate cost saving, not to mention a huge reduction in the chemicals going into the ground.
And this isn't just a guess. Check out the hard data from this case study on paddy farming. The farm without DI Grow yielded 5,000 kilograms per hectare. Pretty good. But the plot using it? 6,000 kilograms. That's a 20% jump in production. And when you look at the bottom line, the profit shot up by 24%. So you're not just saving money, you're actively making more.
And the benefits really cover the whole plant. You get way more roots, bigger leaves, and larger fruit by up to 30%. It also helps flowers bloom earlier, and it reduces the chance of flowers and fruit falling off before they're ready. And here's a huge one. It boosts the plant's own natural resistance to pests. The whole point is to grow a plant that's fundamentally healthier and tougher.
But the story doesn't end there in the fields. The manual we're explaining today reveals one last and very surprising use for this stuff.
This leads us to something I'll bet you did not see coming. What if the fertilizer you use on your plants could also be used to feed your animals?
I know, it sounds a little weird, right? But the logic is pretty simple. Because DI Grow is organic, non-toxic, and just packed with nutrients from the seaweed, it can also be used as a supplement for livestock. We're talking cattle, poultry, even fish. The manual says it can increase their appetite, boost their growth, and improve their immune systems. All you have to do is mix a little bit into their drinking water or their feed.
And this really brings us to our final thought for today. As we're all looking for smarter, more sustainable ways to do agriculture, this whole approach raises a really fascinating question. Could the secret to feeding the future be found not in some high-tech lab, but in the depths of the ocean?